Good morning. Namaskar. Most times when we chant together, we invoke the presence of the Guru, and then we sing the hymn to Brahma, which is in itself an invocation to the Guru. And in the last line, we sing Tri Guna Rahitam, Sadgurum Twam Namami. The Guru is beyond the three qualities. And today I'd like to talk a little bit about that, the three qualities, what they mean to us, and how we can understand them in a way that helps to free us to go beyond the three qualities. The creation itself is a manifestation of infinite spirit beyond the creation coming into the creation. And the creation is said to have three qualities: Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, the creative, the preservative, and that which dissolves all back into spirit. The creation itself is made of three basic spheres: the causal plane, the astral plane, and the material physical plane. The causal plane is the closest to infinite spirit, thought, the least far away from oneness with universal potential. And then from there goes the astral world, which is energy and light, ideas covered with a manifestation of energy and light. The causal plane is invisible, it's thought. The astral world is light, energy flow. The physical world is material. We call it the material plane because it is the most solid in terms of the way that we perceive it. It's the furthest away from the pure state of Satchidanandam, infinite bliss. So these three aspects, or this going out from infinite spirit, helps us to understand that what we're trying to do is turn it around and go back to infinite spirit. From the material consciousness, we're trying to go back to infinite consciousness. Triguna Rahitam, beyond these three qualities, to infinite spirit. And the Satguru is one with infinite spirit. Each and every one of us will eventually become, again, one with infinite spirit. That's where we came from, and that's where we're going back to. That's home. Home. That's good. So, in these three manifestations of the creation, we see that which is closest to spirit, the causal. That's Sattva Guna, that which is elevating, that which leads towards expanded consciousness, greater bliss, greater peace. On the opposite spectrum is the physical plane, the furthest out. This represents Tamoguna, that which is most entangled in I-ness, ego-ness, the little self, selfishness, I want. I'm attached to the things that I like, and I don't want to look at and be connected to the things that I don't like. That's the material world. That's Tamoguna. That which is most gross, most limited, leads to the most amount of suffering. The furthest away from Satchidanandam. In the middle is the astral plane. The astral plane represents energy, flow. And that astral world, within the astral realm, you have the higher realms, which are heavenly. And you have the lower realms, which are, we can say, hellish. They're dark. They're full of suffering. That astral world energy can take you towards elevation and expansion, or can take you towards contraction and negativity. When you've spent your vacation time in the astral world in the lower realms, when you come back to Earth, you've got a lot of pent-up negativity, and that can oftentimes lead to getting yourself into more trouble, because you then want to manifest that negative energy. So if we can understand the three qualities in terms of their directional nature, that which is elevating, leading towards bliss, well-being, happiness, that which is contracting, leads to suffering, leads to selfishness, smallness, separateness, aloneness, all of the things that lead to suffering. And it takes energy, one way or the other, to go towards elevation or contraction. So if you want to elevate your consciousness, you're going to have to activate things in that direction. Now, in the creation itself, in the material world that we live in, it in itself does have its own relative elevating, activating, and downward pulling realities. The very fact that the creation is made, it expresses duality, positive and negative. So in this world we see beauty. We see expressions of limited love, but love, joy, well-being, cooperation, positivity. This is sattvic. Beautiful smells, beautiful scenery, beautiful expressions of positive nature. This is sattva guna in the physical realm. And then we see tamaguna in the physical realm. We see slothfulness, hatefulness, bigotry, selfishness, suffering caused unto other people. That which leads not only to suffering for others, but anything that we put towards others leads to suffering to our own self. Laziness. All of these things are tamoguna. They're limit reminding and limit binding. We would describe our negative karma as tamoguna within the framework of our energy. If we could see the astral body, we would see the lights, the colors, the energy flow of the consciousness of our karma from the past. And it would radiate to us an expression of our current state of affairs, the current state of our consciousness, the energy flow that is positive and the energy downward flow that is negative. So, within this world, there are positive and negative values of truth. So, food vital with life force would be sattvic. Food that is dead and overcooked or sitting for too long, becoming spoiled, that would be tamaguna. That would be negative. Human interaction, caring about someone else, that would be sattva-guna. Thinking only of my own needs, that would be tamaguna. You see these polarities. Every experience in life is a manifestation of consciousness, clothed by energy, and if it's in this world, manifested in a body, in a form. And it represents a mixture of these gunas. Every part of life is a mixture, positive and negative, of the three gunas. It's qualities of energy, which is elevating, expanding, downward pulling. And Rajaguna is the activating energy that can lead you in one direction or another, upward or downward, expanding or contracting. So if you think about virtually every experience in life is a mixture of those energies of its own manifestation, and then our energy as it interacts with these experiences, and how we react and work with those energies. So, for example, take a child that's lazy, that Tamaguna. So how are you going to motivate that child? You're going to activate them, get some energy, any energy. Stand up and yell, make noise. But now make beautiful noise with the flute. That would be more sattvic, rather than just banging noise, the trash can banging. That's noise, it's energy, but it's not elevating. So if we look at that in every part of life, and remember that the goal is to go beyond these qualities. How do we go beyond the qualities? We go to center, we go to inside, to silence. And how do we understand how to go to silence? It's one of those both sides of the coin at the same time, simultaneous truth. We have to go within ourselves and use our connection inside to go beyond. The way to understand the qualities is to be within yourself and to expand that self out into the circumstances, what you're trying to understand. We attune ourselves to it. And while we're attuning ourselves to the qualities of the world around us, we're simultaneously inwardly connecting to spirit for intuitive understanding about, one, what is this? And two, what am I supposed to do with it? How should I react to this? How can I interact with this circumstance? So if you're in the business place, if you're on vacation, if you're having any kind of relationship, if you're having to deal with a wild dog on the street, if your car breaks down on the road, if your travel plans get changed, it doesn't matter. It's a manifestation of the Gunas. And our choice in life is which quality of consciousness, which Guna will we apply to the quality of consciousness that we are being called to interact with. So if you, and remember Yoganandaji said environment is stronger than willpower. That's why, one, we have to read, we have to understand, learn to perceive the vibrational content of every situation. And then we have to recognize, do I want to draw this into my consciousness? This is why the ancients were wise when they taught the pranam instead of the Western handshake. Because when you shake hands with someone, you're exchanging energy. You should try to avoid shaking hands with someone whose energy you don't want to bring into your consciousness. And whenever you shake hands with someone, if you feel that the qualities of energy that they have are beneficial, consciously draw them in. But if they're not, actively send energy out to protect yourself. Send energy to bless them. Bless people who are lower energy. Don't look at a person that you don't feel inclined to be with and say, I hate you because you're tamasic. Because that thought would be tamasic. What you do is you say, hey, I love you, but I don't want to be like you in your current state. Because behind every tamasic expression in life is infinite spirit. It might be well hidden, but there is nothing in life that is not animated by spirit. So you can always, if you look deep enough, far enough back in the history of that expression, you'll find God. And of course, when we live beyond the qualities, then we can see beyond the qualities in others. And this is one of the powers that comes to yogis as they become advanced. They can see beyond the surface. See beyond the current situation. There's a story of Yogananda. Somebody gave him a baby to hold, and he was holding the baby, and he looked at the baby, and suddenly he realized that the baby had been a murder in its previous incarnation, and he almost dropped it. Whoa, oh, okay. Whoa. When we learn to see life underneath, the qualities of energy that are being expressed, not only in others, but in ourselves, then we really can begin to work with the energy that's going to take us from limited, tamasic, or rajasic, really tied up in the world, mind's agitated, always thinking, I got to do something, got to do something, got to do something, instead of, I got to be with Spirit. I got to be communing with Infinite Spirit, and then bring that energy and light into the life that God's given me to live. But we have to train ourselves to do this, because we grew up not being able to, not being trained. We're trained in good manners. We get training in school about academics, but we don't generally get training in the perception of the vibrational content of life and how to work with that outwardly and inwardly. So as yogis, what we're doing when we're meditating is we are beginning to perceive and develop our inner connection to intuitive perception. And as a part of that process, we're trying to, we say, we're expanding our consciousness. And yes, we're trying to expand into the infinite ocean of consciousness, but we're also trying to expand our sense of self, not only this body, but to reach out and be in any space that we're in. And when you feel places, this is one of the great powers of pilgrimage. When you go to holy places, what makes them holy? They have high vibrations. They're sattvic vibrations. They're sattvic environments that will be a place where we feel uplifted when we go there. And it's when you become sensitive to this, it's not wishful thinking. It's not, oh, I hope I feel blessed. You will feel blessed. You have to feel blessed if you partake of the blessings. If you go to the fruit stand and don't eat any of the fruit, you can't blame the fruit stand. You can't say that the food wasn't there. You can say that you didn't partake of it. How do you partake of it? You have to eat it. You have to chew it. That's rajas. You have to do something. You can't just look at it. And then as you activate change in life, then you get to choose, am I going to activate change towards sattva or towards tama? On all of this is physical, mental, and spiritual. It's on all of these levels, simultaneous true. So in every experience, there is a truth. What is truth? Truth is the highest expression that we can attune to in any given moment. Because you could say that the truth is beyond the qualities. But if you're not able to live and perceive beyond the qualities, then your truth is where you are right here, right now. But we want to, and in the most basic way, for example, truthfulness. Truthfulness means factually correct to a certain degree. But then you have a higher expression of that. You realize that not only should it be correct, but it should be beneficial. Truth expresses a positive caring. So it might be, the example that we love to use is the person in the hospital. So it might be correct to say to them, wow, you really look terrible. But that wouldn't be truthful because it wouldn't be nice. It wouldn't be positive. It wouldn't be helpful. So then to be truthful, you don't say, oh, you look fantastic, because that's not truthful. People will call that a white lie, but it's not a truth. You have to get creative sometimes. If you saw them yesterday, you might say, well, you look better today than you did yesterday. Okay, that's positive. If they're not looking too good, you might say, well, I've seen you looking better. And that might make them laugh a little bit. So that's a nicer way of saying it. Many women will say to men when they get asked on a date and they don't want to go, they'll go, hey, I'm busy. I'm already have a date. When it's not true. And you might say, well, they're trying to save the guy's feelings. But it's not truthful. They're hurting the power of their own word. So you have to get creative. You have to get honest. And not only that, when you do it that way, then they're saying, well, what about the next day? What about the next day? Now you're in trouble. Whenever you lie, you get yourself into trouble one way or another. So you have to stand up and be truthful and say, hey, look, no thank you. And, you try to be polite. But choices. Which way will my actions in life lead me? Sattva or Tama? And what does Sattva lead to? Triguna Rahitam. When we live more and more in tune with that which is elevating, then that which is downward pulling gets left behind. When we practice Kriya Yoga, we speed up this process in two ways. One is we begin to free ourselves from past karma, but almost more importantly, we deepen our inner connection to intuitive truth about how we should proceed. And that intuitive connection manifests in two ways. One is sometimes we have greater understanding about what it is that we're trying to do. But even more common and possibly more important is that we begin to live spontaneously in harmony with Sattva Guna through our lives. This I saw so many times in the life of Swami Kriyananda, where he would be in the right place at the right time to do the right thing. And because it happened so often, people sometimes would assume that he was absolutely conscious of all of the details of that circumstance. He wasn't. But he was conscious that he was living in that harmony. He was conscious that this was going on in his life all the time. He didn't always know the details, and neither did Yogananda. He could have known. Yogananda could have known all the time. But he didn't feel the need to know things that he didn't need to know. I tell you, there's a lot in life. There's the image that came to my mind just now was of these movies, the Men in Black, and there's this whole, for those of you who might not be familiar with them, there's this whole department of the government that deals with the aliens that nobody in the world knows about. And every day almost there's this crisis where the earth might get destroyed. But the fact is that people don't really want to know. We think we want to know. But God has given us the grace not to know most of what's happened to us previously. Because if we knew all of the details behind the scenes in life, it would be too much. We simply could not cope with that level of complexity and also potential disappointment. Because our journey through the creation is quite convoluted and an extremely long journey. It takes a long time. The difference between the worldly person and the devotee is that the devotee is becoming more and more consciously aware of how they're living and the consequences of those actions, and the ability to begin to take conscious control to live in harmony with that which is high, that which is sattvic. And the more positive choices that we make in terms of our environment is stronger than will. Choose an environment that promotes the elevation of your consciousness. And that environment isn't just the places that you go, it's the place that you live. Even most importantly, what is your home like? Walk into your home and think, what qualities of consciousness are represented by the atmosphere in which I have chosen to live? The cleanliness of the environment. The music that you listen to, is it Tama, Raja, or Sattva? Are the books that you read Tama, Raja, or Sattva? Are the friends that you invite to your home Tama, Raja, or Sattva? The food that you eat, the movies that you watch. Of course, all movies are Rajasic, but they could be Sattva Raja or Tama Raja. It's the same with music. Is your place absolutely filled with stuff? That's Rajasic. All of that stuff. Or is it simple? That's Sattvic. Simplicity. Simplicity leads to fewer anchors. Remember Gulliver's Travels. Everything that binds us in this world isn't big. A lot of little stuff holds us back. I know someone in America who I walked into her home one day and the shelves just got stuff everywhere. And it's funny because she's always complaining about not having enough money to do anything. And she's got all this stuff. I'm thinking, does she even see all this stuff when she walks in the home? No. But it's like an anchor on her life, on her consciousness. Just like an anchor. And her happiness is tied up in all of that stuff. Sattva guna is to cut the cord. Free ourselves from all this stuff. All of the physical things, but also the mental things. All of those expectations that we have that hold us back from being happy. I can't be happy until I get a new job. I can't be happy until I'm making a little bit more money. I can't be happy until I have this new relationship. I can't be happy until I go to Tahiti. I can't be happy until I have children. I can't be happy until it's endless. We will never arrive at happiness as long as our happiness is bound by anything. So the key here is to be more conscious about the qualities of energy that flow through our consciousness and the environment in which we live that promotes which qualities, elevating or downward pulling. And make choices that lead to elevation. And it doesn't mean we never have Raja, but do the energizing things that lead towards Sattva. And if you do something that's Rajatama, something that is excessively outward pulling, like going to, in America, we go to Disneyland, or Great America, one of these amusement parks. Those places are nothing but noise and excitement and overeating and just overindulgence in every way. And okay, I took my kids to that. I went to Disneyland with Kriyananda more than once. Okay, two things. One is to recognize that when you do things that are outward pulling, balance it by doing something that's inward pulling. So if you go to the amusement park one day, walk on the beach or in the forest or in the desert, in nature, balance it. But also, we want to learn to live beyond those qualities by living in the calm, centered self. When we live in our center, when we live from our connection at the spiritual eye, inwardly drawing all life experiences in the spine and up the spine, then instead of going to the amusement park of life and everything takes you out, everything takes you in and up. This is one of the great tricks that the yogis use. It's like the soft styles of the martial arts, Aikido, where you take the energy that's flowing towards you, and instead of allowing it to hurt you, you redirect it and you use it to your benefit. In the case of fighting, you use it to get rid of your enemy. But in the case of spiritual advancement, all life energy we take in the spine and offer it up. And we use that energy to create a greater energy flow, to increase our connection. So when you experience something that you would describe as negative, you turn it into a positive by bringing it into the spine and up and offering it to spirit. And when we live that way, there is no outward experience that can do anything but bring us closer to God. And that's one of the ways that we can live beyond the qualities in this world, is to recognize that our connection to God and our happiness is not tied to the gunas. It's tied to our connection to infinite spirit within our own selves. So if we are living this way as a practice, when we're into the center, into the spine, up, every experience feeds your relationship to God. So when something unpleasant happens, you go, "Oh Lord, this is unpleasant. I offer it to you." And when something pleasant happens, you go, "Oh Lord, this is pleasant. I offer it to you." And then you see people, when I observed Kriyananda at Disneyland, I observed that he was the same when he left as when he got there. He was in here. And he had a great time, but he had a great time in here. And he allowed that outward opportunity to feed that inner connection. This is something you can do in every life experience. So in a very practical way, we can live beyond the qualities when we take any quality in and up. And we can use our awareness of the qualities to understand more about how to interact with life in a way that's beneficial for others and ourselves. And then the deeper that we go into this interconnection, we begin to identify, the soul identifies to its reality as infinite spirit, and then in the highest sense, we can, each of us, live Trigunarahitam, beyond the qualities, living in infinite spirit. This is our home, and this is the path to going home. Namaste.